Welcome all of you to the second session of Marxism and Socialism. This is Kanishk. Until now, we have seen the initial tenets of Marxism, and now we will proceed with the revolution part. So, here on your screen is Karl Marx, the proponent of communism or Marxism, trying to brew the revolution. And he is very certain about it. He says that revolution is certain, revolution is inevitable. So let us try to understand what actually is revolution and how does Marx apply it and how does he define it. That's Mao Zedong, the founder of Communist China. He ushered communism in China in 1949 after the Chiang Kai-shek government was exiled to Taiwan. He says that a revolution is not a dinner party or it's not like writing an essay or painting a picture or doing embroidery. It cannot be so refined, so leisurely and gentle, so temperate, kind, courteous, restrained, and magnanimous. A revolution is an insurrection, an act of violence against the system that controls society. So, we'll start now. These are the views of Mao Zedong on revolution. He calls revolution an insurrection, and he has legitimized violence, an act of violence by which one class overthrows the another class. He even said that the power flows from the barrel of the gun. So it is through guns and weapons by which these are the means through which revolution will be assured. Now, what exactly is revolution in typical Marxist terminology? It means a complete overthrow of one mode of production and establishment of a new mode of production. So, a revolution will happen when one mode of production will be overthrown by a new mode of production. And the mode of production constitutes what Marx calls the substructure, and every other thing depends on it, that is known as superstructure. So, if you control the economic factors, which is substructure, you will be able to control all other factors like state, legal system, religion, ethics, morality, polity, whatever comes to your mind. Superstructure is dependent on substructure, and substructure is the economic factors. Okay, and anything that you want to control in superstructure, first you need to have command over the economic factors. This is Karl Marx view, and this is there is a reason he does not consider French Revolution as a true revolution because it only changed the state, which is a part of superstructure. The French Revolution did not change the mode of production, and real revolution is replacement of slavery by feudalism and replacement of feudalism by capitalism. So the mode of production has to change for a revolution to be successful. That is why French Revolution is not a real revolution. Now, what are the causes of revolution? Again, the same basic thing, that dialectic materialism, as he says, that every stage of history has some inherent contradictions, which is ultimately responsible for its destruction. So, capitalism will collapse under the burden of its own expectations. People expect so much from this capitalism. Everyone will have money, everyone will be economically prosper, that it will collapse under those burdens. And most important contradiction that results in revolution is contradiction between forces of production and relations of production. Now, forces of production are dynamic and relations of production are static. And at some point of time, the static relations of production will become like chains for the dynamic force of production, which Karl Marx calls as force fetters. Now, what are forces of production? Land, machinery, tools, infrastructure. And what are relations of production? The socio-economic relationship, the relationship which a worker has with his master, a worker has with the capitalist. That is relations of production. That was his take. And about violence, Karl Marx says that force is the midwife of every old society pregnant with a new one. Who is a midwife? The woman who assists during a childbirth. So until midwife is there, delivery is not going to happen in a smooth way. So force is the midwife of every old society pregnant with new idea. Society has to conceive. Society is pregnant with new idea. You need a midwife to make it successful. And he supports violence because in every society, the interests of two classes are always at the cost of one another. They are mutually exclusive. They are antagonistic. Profit of one is the loss for other, and vice versa. And the third law of dialectics says that the qualitative change takes place from quantitative change. But if some hurdle is brought, people are status quo. They prefer to stay the way they are. It's a human tendency. We all love inertia, so we all resist change. So it hurdle will be brought when change is about to occur. So force is needed here in order to remove that hurdle. Now, what are its criticism? Gandhi says that non-violent change is the real change because it's persistent and stable, not violent change. Gandhiji was never in favor of violent change. That is why he called off non-cooperation movement after Chori Chora. You will read this in your modern history. And the countries where violence is accepted as a means of change, the society also accepts it. Look at Middle East. What is happening there? It is because the violence has been legitimized over there. So Karl Marx was not wrong. No, his critics are not wrong when they say that if you accept violence as a legitimate means of change, then everyone will start doing the same thing. Okay. And Karl Popper says that incremental change is always better than a revolutionary one. Incremental means धीरे धीरे जो होता है. One by one. Evolutionary change is always better than a revolutionary one. And this is the penultimate stage of Marxism, dictatorship of proletariat or socialism. And on your screen is Vladimir Lenin. What is proletariat? The have not, the poor person. It's a transitional phase that comes after revolution. It is also a class rule, but different from the earlier class rule because it's the rule of majority. Here, the working class is ruling. That is why it is different from the earlier democracies or earlier means through which the state was being controlled. And Lenin says that this is the real democracy because state remains a class instrument, but it promotes majority's interest because majority is ruling. The workers are ruling here. Like when you will study about Russian Revolution, you will see what Lenin did there. Okay, Marxism was the theoretical aspect. Russian Revolution was the first practical application of Marxism, where the workers started ruling, or at least they claimed to do so, when they removed the Tsar's rule, the Romanov dynasty's rule from Russia. And what is the guiding slogan? For each according to his ability, to each according to his work. And the state will perform only three functions: the maintenance of law and order, to protect socialist revolution from the capitalist, the developmental function, the socialization of means of production and education, health, etc. These will be the roles of state. Educating functions, expanding socialist ideas and values in the society. So all these Marxist philosophies will be endorsed by the state. State will promote these ideas. Now there are some criticisms of the same. Karl Marx says that it's a transitory stage, but in erstwhile USSR and current China, it became permanent. It never led to ideal communist society as claimed by Marx. Penultimate became the ultimate stage. Second last became the last. Transiting into last. The final stage never came. According to M. N. Roy, dictatorship of proletariat degenerated into dictatorship over proletariat. We'll see how this happened. Now, the ideal communist state, the highest stage of social development. Here, the society will have no private property. Private property creates class divisions, and further to emergence of state as a class instrument. Like state always remains a class instrument, it furthers a particular class interest, the rich class interest. And due to absence of private property, there will be stateless and classless society. So the slogan will change from each according to his ability to each according to his need. Whatever you need, you will get. And people will move from the kingdom of necessity to kingdom of freedom. The alienation of an individual would stop, and even the last man would become a humanized creature. Now, this is very interesting. Karl Marx says that alienation occurs. Alienation occurs because people cannot identify themselves with the work that they are doing. We will see these things. This is the theoretical aspect of ideal communist state. Sorry. Criticism, it is too good to be true. It is a utopia. It cannot happen like this. It never happened like this. And statelessness is not just possible. It's just not possible. Even if we see the Marxist countries, the state became stronger. And if there is no development, then society will become very stagnant. See what he says on religion. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people. Well, he can say this. Probably he did not prepare for UPSC. Anyone who is an atheist should prepare for UPSC. He will start believing in God. Religion is a part of superstructure and it creates false consciousness in the individual. Religion and opium have some similarities. What is opium? Opium is a drug. It separates the individual from reality and creates an illusionary world. When one consumes opium, he thinks that he is living in some illusionary, not real, but some other world. Something similar happens to religious people, because they think about God, kingdom of God, hell and heaven. And one who consumes opium is not fit to do any work because he remains inactive, he remains diseased, so on and so forth. And under the influence of religion, the revolutionary tendencies of workers are curbed. Because you pray, that is why you cannot be a revolutionary. That is why he says that individual forgets the pain for a limited time, and similarly, religion also consoles the individual. Like in ancient times, opium was given to patient upon whom surgeries were performed. Okay, something like anesthesia. So when you pray, you forget your pain for a while, and when you forget your pain, then you do not become a revolutionary. So that is what he says, that history has seen many czars, Caesars, and Louis, but under the influence of opium of religion, people never revolted against them. These all are dictators. Okay, and that is what Karl Marx said, that these people have flourished in this world because people never revolted against them. Alienation, the book which he wrote, economic and philosophical manuscript, it means separation of individual from his essence. So man becomes a cog in the machine. Like suppose you are holding a pen. So that pen is being manufactured somewhere. The cap is being manufactured somewhere. The lid is being manufactured somewhere. The body is being manufactured somewhere. And there are people who are working on every aspect. Someone is into cap, someone into lid, someone into the body. All of them cannot identify themselves with the end product. Like for example, a car. Someone manufactures the body. Someone manufactures the seat. Someone manufactures the tire. Someone manufactures the steering. All of them cannot identify themselves with the end product, that is the car. So they are alienated from the product, and the worker becomes a cog in the machine because of the monotonous nature of the work. Every day producing tires, manufacturing steering, manufacturing body, so he becomes very monotonous, bore ho jata hai wo. And his life is dehumanized because he loses his human essence and becomes a machine in capitalism. And there are four levels: alienation from product and production process, from nature, from fellow beings, and from self. I hope, no, I don't hope, but I feel the same thing applies to an aspirant. As alienation आप सबको भी हो जाता है, हम लोग सबको भी तैयारी तैयारी करते करते हो नहीं जाता है. Last stage is alienation from self, and main cause, according to Marx, is private property and over specialization. Because of private property, the capitalist tends to have a profit motive in his mind, so he makes the worker work more and more and more, and because he's repeatedly doing a similar thing, that is why, because of over specialization, he becomes monotonous and he develops alienation. Now Weber has criticized it and said that it's a general trend, it is not specific to capitalism, and it's an unscientific theory, but it is relevant. You know, the neo-Marxists do not talk about class struggle or violence, they talk about alienation more than any other Marxist idea. Herbert Marcuse and Eric Fromm, they have reinterpreted alienation in the light of consumerism. So what is consumerism? The tendency to purchase everything. You must have seen this in malls. Okay, there are big shops, and there are people who wish that they had four hands because they are unable to carry all the poly bags which they buy from the shops. So, in his book, One Dimensional Man, Marcuse points out that in contemporary capitalist societies, only one aspect of individual, that is, individual as a consumer, is highlighted. Eric Fromm says that due to growing consumerism, individuals are surrounded with various consumer goods, and ultimately they create a boredom in individual, which leads to alienation. See, this is a truth of marketing that consumerism is being promoted. Like people want to have a certain product, they want to avail services of a particular product. They think that they are deprived if they do not have this particular stuff with them. It can apply to anything. It can be a gadget, it can be a particular cloth, shoes, makeup kit, maybe some services, a particular salon, a particular spa center, a particular holiday resort. It can manifest in everything. The idea is to create a feeling of deprivation within the individual so that he or she goes for it. Okay, it becomes the most sought after stuff. So, what are the relevance of Marxism? Now, three events happened: the fall of Berlin Wall and the unification of Germany, the end of Cold War, and the disintegration of USSR. Now, all these things happened in 90s. Francis Fukuyama wrote a path-breaking essay, End of History, or it is called End of Ideology, where he declared that with the disintegration of USSR, liberal ideology has defeated Marxist ideology, and this victory is final and decisive. This is what he claimed, that it is the end of history. Nothing new is going to happen. Liberal ideology has defeated Marxism, and this victory is final and decisive. Okay, so this is what Marxism was. There are many things that you saw here for the first time, I guess. Now, there is a related concept. We will come to it. Uh, First, we try to examine what is the contemporary relevance of Marxism. See, it has emphasized on various values like social justice, equality, and non-exploitation, and they are still relevant. And they all emanate from Marxism. So, as a source of these theories, Marxism is relevant. And many contemporary social movements like anti-racist movement, student movement, feminism, they all have their roots somewhere in Marxism. Okay, and currently it talks about anti-market movement, it talks about poor man, it talks about labor, so it will remain relevant. It has emphasized on the socio-economic aspect of democracy, and liberal democracy usually highlight the civil and political aspect, and they neglect the socio-economic aspect. But under pressure from Marxist, liberal democracies also emphasize on growing economic disparity and other forms of inequality. So Marxism has broadened the base of democracy. Okay, it has broadened the horizons of democracy. Alienation has successfully highlighted the shortcoming of contemporary capitalism, and it will remain relevant as long as there is poverty, exploitation, equality, and injustice. Fall of sorry, fall of USSR should not be linked with the irrelevance of Marxism, because Karl Marx had, he had dreamed of a world based on equality and justice. The dream did not come true, but it does not make the dream irrelevant. That's the main contribution of Marxism. So as long as deprivation will remain, as long as the social justice will not be delivered, as long as inequities will remain, Marxism and Karl Marx will be remembered. Now, a related concept, in fact, a part of Marxism is socialism, or the radical idea of sharing. I called it radical idea because there cannot be absolute equality in society. Let us accept this fact. We are not equal. People talk about equality of men and women, let alone two gender. I don't think that two individuals are equal. I am not equal to myself the next day. You are not equal to yourself. You were not equal to yourself 2 days back, and you will not be equal to yourself after 2 days. There is some value addition, or at least some depreciation. So there is nothing called equality. Okay, but see what it aims to do, what it aims at. All those thought systems which believe in the social ownership of means of production. And as CM Zod says, that it's a hat which has lost its shape because everyone wants to wear it. Vladimir Lenin says that socialism means dictatorship of proletariat is a trend and Marxism is the ideology. So you can call it practical and Marxism is the theoretical ideology. Now, this is what India adopted democratic socialism, a fusion of Marxism and democracy. The goals of socialism, like equality and justice, social ownership of means of production, are accepted, but they have to be pursued democratically. And Marxism believes in revolutionary changes, but democratic socialism believes in evolutionary changes that are gradual and reformative. And it supports periodic elections, planning, progressive parliamentary legislation, unlike Marxism, which supports violent change. And Marxism calls state as a class instrument. Democratic socialism treats state as a positive thing, a means to bring social justice. So it will be not a, it will not remain a class instrument. It will become a means through which the justice will be assured. Class struggle is the main feature of society because the interests of various classes are antagonistic. Democratic socialism does not support class struggle. It says that interest of various classes can be reconciled. Like currently we have in India. Of course, we are a diverse society and unequal society. But see, every person has his or her own share of grievance, and they are being addressed through a suitable forum. Okay, we are not having class struggle. Class harmony is prevailing, right? Now, don't quote the fringe incidences here that someone was being killed or someone was burnt or something like that happened. These things happen. We should not justify these things, but it does not emphasize that the state has failed or we are not a harmonious society, because still the legitimate means to bring a change is through the parliament, and parliament is being governed by our elected representatives. It does not believe in economic determinism like Marxism. Okay. Nationalism, according to Marxism, is a bourgeois concept. Bourgeois means something a rich concept, which rich people favor, not a proletariat or a pro-poor concept. It fulfills the class interest of capitalists. Nationalism is against the notion of class struggle. See what Marx says: workers of the world unite. So he is trying to evoke every worker from the world, irrespective of whether he works for in India or Pakistan or America or Israel or anywhere. But democratic socialism supports nationalism. And Marx has compared religion with opium, but democratic socialism does not oppose religion and supports religious freedom of the individual. There are some criticism as well. Marxists say that it is a form of revisionism. You have copied all our ideas minus revolution. You have just removed revolution from Marxism and you call it democratic socialism. And they say that you cannot see the true nature of capitalism. It cannot be reformed, it can only be replaced. This is what Marxists are telling the democratic socialists. Liberals believe that democratic socialism, like Marxism, gives more importance to collectivism. Collectivism means community welfare. Liberals are for individual welfare. So the individual freedom is curtailed by democratic socialism, just like Marxism. This is the allegation that liberals put on them. So we see that democratic socialists are being criticized both by Marxists and by liberals. It gives emphasis to a state as a means of social change, but increase in power of state translate into enhancement of power of administration. If the state powers are increased, it means the bureaucratic powers are increased, which is not always good for the people. It gives importance to planning, and planning had its own share of shortcomings. It creates private initiative, like we have to tell you to read these books, we tell you to read NCRTs, we tell you to read class notes, we don't ask you to read anything on your own. So we prohibit you from doing something, right, in class during the lectures. So this is what democratic, so because हमने अपना एक प्लान बनाया, हम चाहते हैं कि आप उस अकॉर्डिंग एक्ट करो. डेमोक्रेटिक सोशलिज्म भी यही कहता है कि एक्ट अकॉर्डिंग टू व्हाट इज बीइंग told. Do not go for your own enterprising attitude. But it still remains the most important version of socialism, and it is the practicable version of Marxism. Now, there are various schools of socialism here on your screen: Fabian Guild, Parliamentary Revisionism, and Syndicalism. We shall see each one of them very briefly now. Fabian socialism supports peaceful change. It was favored by G.B. Shaw and Sidney Webb. It supported class harmony instead of class struggle. Equality of opportunity was emphasized by them, and how it will be achieved when there will be universal education. If everyone is educated, everyone will go for pursuing socialism. Guild socialism. It was favored by GDH Cole, and it emphasized on the role of guild. Who is a guild? What is a guild? Guild means a group of people in same profession to take care of common interest. Like health ministry should be headed by a doctor. Defense ministry should be headed by a military person. This is called guild. People in same profession will take care of their common interest. It accepts the main feature of democratic socialism like class harmony, peaceful change, etc. And they want to abolish wage system. So how will they pay? Instead, they support distribution based on need. Again, you see, this is very subjective stuff. How do you decide what, how much, and what one needs? Distribution based on needs will be open to multiple interpretations. Okay, but this is what guild socialists say. Now, the parliamentary socialism concept developed by the Labour Party of Britain. British democracy functions on the principle of parliamentary sovereignty. It means that parliament is sovereign in United Kingdoms. जुडिशरी से ऊपर है पार्लियामेंट. अमेरिका में उल्टा है. इन अमेरिका judiciary is above parliament. In India there is no above or below. Constitution is above everything. All the three organs derive their power from the Constitution of India. It believes that parliament will be the means to bring socialism through legislation. So Labour Party says that we will win elections, we will sit in the parliament, and we will enact laws to bring socialism. Revisionism. Leader's name is here, Edward Bernstein from the Social Democratic Party of Germany, and it opposes revolution, class struggle, economic determinism, and it is more or less similar to democratic socialism, which we saw earlier. Syndicalism, George Sorel. Oh, it favors trade unions, and it opposes democratic socialism. It supports violence, and it even opposes the state. It wants to take away the powers of state and assign them to syndicates. Syndicate means trade union leaders, and they support direct action like strikes, rampage in industry, and it wants to abolish the state. So state power should be assigned to the syndicates. That's Che Guevara, the guy you see on the T-shirt. He was a hardcore Marxist, right hand of Fidel Castro in Cuba. So that is all we have for Marxism and socialism. I know there will be questions because this is not a very easy thing to learn, and there has to be some doubts. So I invite all your questions, whatever doubts you have, feel free to ask me. You can ask me in class, you can mail me your questions. I'll address each question. For the moment, take good care of yourself. I'm ending it here. Take good care.